Welcome back to another episode of 40 Facts About the 40K Universe. I am your host, Gershwan, and you are watching One Mind Syndicate. Today we start with one of my favorite Space Marine chapters, the Imperial Fists. I'm starting to collect this army, so sit back and relax as we listen to these 40 facts about the Imperial Fists. The Imperial Fists are one of the first founding chapters of the Space Marines, and were originally the 7th Legion of the Legio Astartes, raised by the Emperor himself from across Terra during the Unification Wars. After the Emperor conquered Terra with his gene-forged Thunder Warriors, he continued his dominance of the Techno-Barbarian tribes with his newly created Legio Astartes. With blood and fire, he tamed Terra, bringing order and enlightenment where there had been none before. It was this transformation that the 7th Legion was made to protect. The first battalions of the 7th Legion were raised across Terra as shown by their earliest battle honor, Roma, while many other legions drew their recruits from a particular source. The flesh of the 7th Legion came from Terra as a whole. Even in domains where other legions had the right of tithes, the 7th Legion took some of the youths as initiates. Often, these would be those who exhibited the greatest capacity for endurance, both in mind and body. Many slow to talk, but quick to act. Why so many of such a wide pool of recruits would be similar is unclear. The processes used to activate the 7th Legion's gene seed seem to have inflicted intense pain, and so perhaps it was a purposeful selection of stock, suited to surviving the process. It is also possible that a pattern of recruitment once formed perpetually until it was tradition. No matter the reason, the grim nature of those recruited into the 7th Legion was well suited for their use. In war, the 7th Legion was concerned with conquest. While all the Emperor's forces fought and died to expand the Imperium, many saw only part of the greater vision. Defeat the enemy, tear down his stronghold, break his belief, and still you will have a land that could turn against the Imperium in the future, or provide other enemies with a weakness to strike at. Victory was not enough. To conquer, one had not only to defeat one's enemies, but to hold the fruits of their victory. This philosophy underpinned every action of the 7th Legion. In attack, they would pay the price in their own blood to secure victory, and once they had victory, they would begin to consolidate what they had taken. This pattern can be seen time and time again in later conquests of ancient Terra. It was the 7th Legion which broke the cities of the Crystal Sea, and then raised the fortress of the 5th Circle from their ruins. In the ice-wrapped pinnacle of the Himalayan mountains, they lost 3 battalions to secure and defeat of the witchery of the Wind's Caller clan. But the first Imperial bastions began to rise against the cold sky within solar days of that victory. In the first decade of their existence, the Imperial Fist raised 600 citadels upon the land of the conquered. It is said that the dead of the Legion lie still in the foundations of each, their skulls and blood mingled with the stones and mortar of their walls. With these bastions pinning the conquered land to the Imperium, order would spread amongst the people of their domain. The old ways would change, fall, or be replaced by the new, and if they did not, then the looming fortress would answer the question of what the response would be to rebellion. The 7th Legion were more than builders. At their root, they were the most direct expression of the Emperor's design of unity amongst humanity, for they were crusaders. While fortresses and ordered domains sprang up in their wake, the 7th Legion would never linger, but were always moving on, invading uncompliant domains and pushing the frontiers even as they reinforced what they had already taken. Massed shock assaults using the full array of weaponry within the Legion was the typical way the 7th Legion approached war. Multiple battalions often took to the field in mass, breaking enemies with hammer blow force. On the plains of Kenstar, the 5th Battalion of the 7th Legion broke the lines of the Tracy with an arrowhead of 50 war machines. It is said that the dust cloud threw up in their wake blotted out the sun. In the tunnels of Galabas, they cracked the crust above the buried city and dropped into the exposed tunnels beneath while the explosions were still echoing across the mountains. But always in the wake of the destruction they brought, they replaced what they had broken with something stronger. It was from these early conquests that the 7th Legion acquired its name. When many looked on the lands they had taken, they said that it was as if the hand of the Emperor had descended and gripped with an unbreakable fist. The description of the service done by the 7th Legion must have pleased the Emperor, for he personally decreed that they would be known from then on as the Imperial Fists, and bestowed on them the right to bear the laurels of victory as part of their heraldry. Dutiful and tactful as ever, it is said that the renamed Imperial Fist accepted their honor in humble silence. When the Emperor was reunited with Rogel Dorn, he regained not only a lost son, but the strength of a star-spanning society already forged into a tool of war. Dorn greeted the Emperor at the helm of the enormous starship constructed during the Dark Age of technology, called the Phalanx, that he had discovered within the Inuit's region of space. Dorn became the 7th of the 20 Primarchs who had been found by their father. The Emperor welcomed Dorn as his long-lost son and returned the Phalanx to his care, transforming it into the mobile fortress monastery of the 7th Space Marine Legion that was also turned over by the Emperor to Dorn to lead, since all of its Astartes had been created using Dorn's own genetic template. Dorn commanded the 7th Legion and its expeditionary fleet with peerless devotion and military genius. It was said that he possessed one of the finest military minds amongst the Primarchs, ordered and disciplined, but still inclined to flashes of zeal and inspiration. Few integrations of Primarch and Legion were as swift or as complete as the one between Rogel Dorn and the Imperial Fists. The ideals of the Imperium and the purpose of the Great Crusade fit with Dorn's outlook and drive, and the warriors of the Imperial Fists were exemplars not only for everything that he had built in the Inuit cluster, but everything he had dreamed of for his future. From the first moment Dorn met his Gene Sons, he demanded of them everything that he would ask of himself. It is said that when he met Legion Master Matthias and veteran contingents of the Imperial Fists, he said nothing, maintaining his silence even when they had knelt and pledged him fealty. Only when he had observed them in battle did he break his silence and speak to them directly. He said that they had much to do and more to learn. To Matthias he gave a single word of thanks for his service and named him High Castellan of Inuit. Such an honor was also a deep duty, for the next order he gave was to raise 30 regiments of new Imperial Fists from the Inuit system. Over the next 16 Terran decades, the Imperial Fists fought in the burning edges of the Great Crusade. Relentlessly they pushed from warzone to warzone, were honored by each of their brother legions, and rose high in the esteem of many. In their methods of war, the ways of Inuit and the echoes of the 7th Legion victory combined. Just as on Terra, they fortified and built to secure what they had conquered, but just as before, they did not linger to rule their conquests. While a Castellan with a household of warriors might remain to maintain its defenses, they did not administer or draw up any enforced law, for they were warriors of the Imperium, not its masters, and they existed to serve in war and die for its survival. What they did take from all the lands they conquered were recruits. A famous example would be the Imperial Compliance Action of Necromunda, where the Imperial Fists won a major victory against the Orcs on the ash wastes of the Hive World. The Hive Lords consented to recruits being drawn from their population in gratitude. A fortress chapel was duly consecrated, but the Imperial Fists were there as esteemed guests, not masters. Rogel Dorn asked no special rights on the worlds where the Imperial Fist recruited. Some Primarchs, such as Perturabo, took every opportunity to garrison a world for their legion and claim its tithes. Dorn is famously recorded as saying, "I want recruits, not vassals," and was always satisfied to keep the legion as a military unit with none of the civil or political responsibilities that came with governing a legion homeworld. During the Great Crusade, the Imperial Fists acted as a strategic reserve of the Emperor's force due to their ability to rapidly redeploy to the battlefield aboard Phalanx. They made use of detailed planning and as such were soon found to be supreme urban fighters and siege specialists. After several campaigns and thousands of conquered worlds being brought into the Imperium, the Emperor returned to Terra to build a capital from which he would run his new empire. He took the Imperial Fists with him to set up as his Praetorians, and charged Dorne with the construction of the Imperial Palace, something that did not go unnoticed by the other Primarchs. Perturabo flew into a rage upon hearing that Dorne thought the Imperial Palace would be proof against any assault by even a mighty siege masters as the Iron Warriors, and he unleashed a torrent of accusations against his brother Primarch, so unfounded that the onlookers from his own legion were dumbstruck. After this outburst was reported to Dorne, the two Primarchs rarely spoke, neither legion serving in the same campaign again. The Imperial Fists were ever at the Emperor's side, and the Iron Warriors were always a part of Horus's vanguard. As the Great Crusade progressed, the Imperial Fist had risen high in honor and in the favor of the Emperor. Ever dependable, they were often used to reinforce flagging campaigns, to hold crumbling fronts and break deadlocked sieges. The Emperor also frequently called on both Rogal Dorn and his sons to fight beside him, bestowing this honor on the Imperial Fists more than any other legion. When the Imperial Fists descended on Ophelion 8, the Emperor led the assault at the head of 100 custodians and 100,000 Imperial Fists. Again, during another campaign, the Emperor called on not only Horus and the Luna Wolves, but Dorne and the Imperial Fists, to form his vanguard in breaking the Shrouded Dynasties. The Emperor also used Dorne to ensure war and Imperial compliance was achieved according to his wishes and wisdom. Time and time again, in ways large and small, the Imperial Fists acted at the direct order of the Emperor. Other Primarchs and their legions blazed a more brilliant trail, or spread the Imperial truth on more worlds, but to many the Imperial Fists were the rock on which the foundation of the Imperium was built. High in favor and honor though they were, the Imperial Fist status did not sit well with some of the other brother legions. The animosity between the Imperial Fists and the Iron Warriors was well known, but Perturabo and his legion were not alone in their resentment. Though few reached the Lord of Iron's pinnacle of spite, others were upset at the trust placed on the Imperial Fists. Dorne's nature did not calm these matters. Truth speaking, his manners often aggravated his peers as much as they drew admiration. It was perhaps his quality which caused the Emperor to pass over Dorne as War Master when he withdrew from the Great Crusade. Before the Imperial Fists could arrive on Terra in full complement, the events of the Horus Heresy overtook them. Stranded for some considerable time by severe warp storms, the Imperial Fist fleet eventually discovered the badly damaged Loyalist Death Guard frigate, Eisenstein, and so learned of Horus's betrayal. At first, Dorne did not believe Captain Nathaniel Garro, and nearly killed him when Garro said that his brother Primarch Horus was a traitor to the Imperium and the Emperor. Rogal Dorn was eventually convinced by several members of Eisenstein's survivors of the Isstvan III massacre. Dorn therefore dispatched the bulk of his legion to the Isstvan system on a war footing. He himself returned to Terra with his veteran Space Marine companies to bring word of the terrible events personally to the Emperor of Mankind. For those still loyal to the Emperor on the Red Planet, their salvation arrived in the form of a great Imperial expeditionary fleet. Malkador the Sigillite, the regent of Terra, charged Rogal Dorn and his Imperial Fists with a mission of the most vital importance, to secure the Forges of Mars for the Imperial war effort. Dorn informed the Sigillite that he would send his legion's champion, the first captain, Sigismund, 4 companies of Imperial Fists, and a large force of Imperialis Auxilia soldiers to secure the Forges of Mars. Within the northern hemisphere of the Red Planet lay an arc of Loyalist control, the important munitions manufactorum of Mundus Gamma et Mundus Aculum. Within these two vast industrial complexes, the Mechanicum fabricated the weaponry and power armor of the legions of the Space Marine. And those were 40 facts about the Imperial Fists. Of course, we're not done. If you know, the Horus Heresy is jam-packed with Imperial Fists fighting and defending Terra. So we're gonna get into that in part 2. Subscribe to the channel to get that video, and of course we post new videos every single day. Now what I need from you guys is I need your help. Please hit the like button, and please comment down below anything. You could say something like, the Imperial Fists are awesome, because that really helps out the channel, and it helps us create more content for you guys. We're up to 2 videos a day, so we're trying really hard to get you guys as much awesome Warhammer 40K content as possible, and by you guys hitting that like button, and subscribing, and commenting, you're helping the channel out. I'll catch you guys in the next one. This was Gersh1 with One Mind Syndicate, signing out.